Welcome in, welcome back. We're the Real Selection Committee. My name's Mike. This is Greg, and we're back for another exciting episode. If you haven't, last week we talked about the 12 teams preseason that we picked to make it into the playoff bracket. We had a lot of fun with that, and that sparked the conversation that we talked about, as a lot of people talk about, is which is a better conference, the SEC or the Big 10. So we dove in and we picked out a lot of matchups, and we're going to dive in and talk about, who's more dominant or has it evened out. Basically, I took the best seeded rankings coming into the preseason, and I put our top 5 matchup. Thanks. How do you feel about this? You think the Big Ten's catching up to the SEC?
I feel it's catching up. I still would give a slight advantage to the SEC overall, top to bottom.
Right.
I think if you put all these 34 teams in one conference and they had to play each other,
right,
I think overall the SEC teams would have a little bit better records against all the other ones. But I do believe head-to-head, the Big Ten is catching up, and especially at the top. I think even surpassed the SEC at the top.
Yeah.
But when we look at these matchups, both the ones you came up with and the ones that I came up with when I went through all 16, it's a pick'em game all the way through. I mean, it could go either way. Who's making the dumb mistake? Who has the bad penalty or a fumble? And that's really how you separate these teams.
Yeah, we come up with some awesome matchups. This is a lot of fun here. You're looking back the last 2 years, the Big Ten has a national champion.
Yeah.
But prior to that, you had the Alabamas dominated with Nick Saban there,
Right.
and then the Georgias dominated. So for the past decade or longer, it's been really SEC favorite. But I dove in all-time records of SEC versus Big Ten. It's 112 to 78 and 2 ties. So SEC leads that by,
Well, a lot of that is based
margin
in the last 25 years,
right,
too, where
yes.
the SEC was just so unbelievably strong, and there was no talk. There was no debate. The SEC was great. But these last 5 years or so, the Big Ten especially, is catching up.
Yes. Well, just look into this last year, the playoffs. The Big Ten was 2-0 versus the SEC, and 3-1 in other bowl games. You spoke of the nil. Yeah. I think this nil is changing this, because I think a lot of these kids want to play now. They don't want to play depth chart and be a player on the bench and wait for their turn.
Yeah.
So now they're starting to spread out. Now you don't have Alabama with 4 or 5 stars at the running back position and a guy sitting and waiting because he can go play somewhere else and start and get paid. Yeah. So it has, I think, evened the playing field drastically, where the other conferences are starting to catch up because they have money. You look at Texas Tech, they're spending a fortune out there to get stuff, and they're recruiting for Big 12. So, it's not just Big 10. Some of these other conferences, when they got money to spend.
Yeah, well, yes, the Big 12, I've said, I think is the third best Power 4 when you go top to bottom. ACC has 2 teams in it that could compete with Big 10 and SEC teams as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the other 2 conferences are catching up. The other guys are kind of still a little bit floundering. But the Big 4 and Notre Dame, we don't want to forget Notre Dame.
Yeah, Notre Dame definitely
These teams are all getting back to the point where you put any one of these helmets next to one another, you're coming up with a heck of a game.
Yeah. So now, when we did these matchups that we're going to dive in a little bit more and kind of throw out there, I went with the kind of national ranking coming into the season, the preseason rankings. So it's a little different than yours, but the number 1 team in my searching and everyone else's searching is from the Big Ten. I got Penn State. They are the number 1 team for the Big Ten, and I took the number 1 ranked team from the SEC coming in is Texas.
Yeah.
This is going to be a great game here. Sure. One, you got an experienced, a lot of returning players coming back team, and then you got a very hyped quarterback that looks like he's going to be a superstar. Can he lead this team with a lot of turnover? We talked about Texas. They had lost 14 or 12 guys to the NFL, so they got a lot of moving guys around to get in there.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a very interesting matchup. Right off the rip, how do you see this? How do you like this matchup?
Well, I'll tell you what, if we're talking just the start of the season, say they were leading the season off, I'd probably have to go with Penn State.
Yeah, this is in a neutral site,
Yeah,
so we're not playing a home field advantage for either team.
And the reason I say that, and here again, we have had a lot of people from Texas watch the Texas broadcast. We respect Texas very well, but Texas's experience level on offense is not high. Mm-hmm. Now, just like with Ohio State or Alabama or anybody else, they're reloading. These players they got are good. Mm-hmm. But Penn State's offense graded a 60.5. And as you mentioned, you got all them returning players coming back. Texas's was only a 53. Mm-hmm. Now, read into that what you want. The defense, Penn State was a 58. Texas's defense was a 63. So you do have strength versus strength and weaker versus weaker offense matching up with the defense. So that adds. I'd have to go with Penn State right now, not by much.
Yeah, let's go with the key positions here.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. You got Arch Manning for Texas, and you got Drew Aller for Penn State.
Yeah.
Drew Aller's been a starter for the last 2 years. This is his third year there. He could have went.
Yeah.
And so now you got Arch Manning, who is getting his start. So the favoritism is a little more to Drew Aller for the experience factor. Arch Manning's great. Yes.
He's got accolades. Arch Manning's going to be fine. We've said that. We feel he's going to be as advertised, right?
Yeah.
But potential does not beat factual.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
As it sits now, Drew Aller has to get the nod on that.
Yeah. So now the running back position, where it's a heavy favorite, I think, to Penn State with Allen and Singleton, Katron Allen and Nick Singleton. Penn State is one of the keys, their running game in this game, to me, is the run game. Can they maintain the ball and wear down the defense of Texas, which we know Texas is a top-tier defense. We talked about them, the D-line and the linebackers. They're loaded at the linebacker position, and even they're ranked number one coming preseason in the backfield, the DBs and stuff. So that's going to be a key matchup in that is can Penn State get the ball running and control the clock and win that part of it?
Well, we've got Penn State's offensive line is pretty solid.
Yes.
And we know the running backs are stupidly good.
Yeah, where Texas is kind of shuffling around some of their offensive line.
Texas's defense grades very well.
Yes.
We'll just have to wait and see on that. Those running backs run no matter what, so you got to hope to limit them. Mm-hmm. You're not going to contain them. Mm-hmm. And Drew Aller is a good enough quarterback. Penn State's wide receivers grade okay. I mean,
they hit the transfer, and they got some guys coming in.
And their tight end is a very good tight end by the paperwork I got. So Penn State's offense will be able to move the ball some. Texas, I think, will be able to move the ball as well.
Yeah. Texas is, they're, to me, two different offenses where Penn State likes to, run the ball and play action and, just manipulate it down the field, where Texas likes to hit the big strikes. Texas has some good receivers in there coming in. Ryan Wingo's a good one.
Right.
So, like you said, you touched on, this is going to be an interesting battle. What a fine matchup we got here. We talked about, we kind of did a favorite in a spot here, what we felt was a spot. The favorite going into the game we chose is Penn State, and we gave them at 2 points.
Yeah.
So they're the 2-point favorite here. This is tough to choose. Like I said, these games are a lot closer than you think. That dominating SEC is now caught by the Big 10.
It's hard to pick because you could pick them and be wrong on every one of them.
Oh, yeah.
And there'd be 50% of the country be picking with you, right?
Yeah.
And, earlier in the season, I believe the favorite's Penn State. Mm-hmm. Because I do think Texas has some players that will grow into the season that don't have as much experience. Later in the years, when this game really would blow up, you wouldn't be able to tell. But I'd give a slight favor to Penn State simply because they got more returning players.
Yeah.
Better at the quarterback, a little better at the run, a little bit better at the running back as it pertains to a lot of other teams because Texas does have a decent running back as well.
Yeah, they got good running back.
They got a solid running back as well, but Penn State's last year's Ohio State running back wise.
Yeah. That Wisner for Texas is a pretty darn good running back.
He is really good.
Yes.
Because he had Blue in them there last year, and he still
was a 1,000-yard rusher. Yeah. So that says
you're
tough.
good.
And then they're getting Baxter back from a knee surgery, so they have depth.
They're actually a little closer than we might think, but you got to give Penn State the nod there.
Sure.
Penn State's offensive line is slightly better. Here again, we know Texas's offensive line has some new players, but we also know they're 4- and 5-star guys.
Yes.
So as the season goes on, them guys are going to get better. I got to go with Penn State right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Slightly. And before you accuse us of being homers, sorry.
Well, as you can tell by looking around, we are kind of Big 10 fans, but we do realize that the SEC is good. But here's my thing here is like, I think I got to go with Texas on this for the simple fact that the defense. Texas, I think defense will cause fits for Drew Aller. The experience is there, and I know Penn State's got 4 out of the 5 offensive guys coming back. And but I just think that they're going to be able to manage with a little bit of the run game and hit their deep strikes. I know they're going to try on Penn State. I value Texas's defense a little better than Penn State's defense, which their defense is good.
Sure.
But I will take the points and Texas in this matchup.
Well, if you're taking the points, sounds like you're saying Penn State will win the game. So,
I'm saying Texas is going to win it outright, but
I'm not saying it's. These matchups are 55-45.
Oh, yeah, they're very close.
I mean, maybe more 53-47. And I like Texas. I mean, I feel Texas is a team that could win the national title as easily as anybody else. But the Ohio State and Penn State matchups for them, I think Penn State is so veteran. Texas is going to be feeling their way through things. Like I say, to me, if they played not in the playoffs and it was an early season game, Penn State would be an easy favorite.
Yeah.
Later in the year, it's a pick 'em.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's move into our second matchup here. Our second matchup we looked at as the 2 highest ranked teams on each conference again. So that being what I see is Ohio State as the number 2 ranked team going against Alabama. Somebody might have that a little bit different, but I'm going to put Alabama in here. Here's another powerful blue blood matchup that everybody loves to see here. This is a game that people are screaming for every year that Ohio State and Alabama play. So right off the bat, what do you see about this game here?
Probably the 2 most glorified college football teams.
Sure. Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
Here again, I could favor Ohio State against any SEC team. Not saying that the SEC teams don't have a shot. What I see with Ohio State and Alabama, Ohio State's offense ranks 61.5. Pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Defense ranks at 60.5. Pretty darn good. Alabama's offense ranks 63.5. So they're a little bit better, even though they're starting a new quarterback too.
Yeah.
And the defense was a 56. Therein's kind of the difference. While 56 isn't bad.
Yeah.
But this is not the Nick Saban Alabama.
Yeah. Alabama gets tore apart every NFL season for the defensive side of the field.
And I just think Ohio State is a little bit better. Just like I said about Texas. But I will preface that by saying, look, I'm not so stupid that I don't think Alabama has a shot at beating them. And even though, if you've watched our broadcast, I don't have Alabama making the playoffs, I know that team's capable of making it.
Yeah.
They're a top 12, 15 team in the country right now, even though they're missing some pieces as well. I think we said Ohio State would be a 3-point favorite or 2-point favorite if we had to put a spot on it.
Yeah.
I think Ohio State would win it close, field goal matchup. Here again, it would depend on who gets the dumb penalty, who fumbles the ball or has that big play. But I still favor Ohio State. Call me a homer if you want. But I think most of the country would see it that way as well.
Yeah. So the matchups, the key matchups in this game will go with the quarterback position. Both of them are starting a new quarterback. We're not even really sure on who the starting quarterback is for both of them because Sayin is kind of leading leading the way for Ohio State.
Yeah.
And they're kind of Ty Simpson is kind of the guy we think is going to start. Both of them are new guys going to start in there. Both coming in as highly recruited guys. Sayin is a 5-star, Simpson's a 4-star. And I know Alabama got Keelan Russell, who's a highly recruited kid coming in.
Yeah.
Maybe he gets playing time, and we just don't know. But we'll go with the inexperience at the quarterback position. I kind of favor Sayin.
Let me say this. The interesting thing about this, Sayin came to us from Alabama.
Right.
Did Julian Sayin look and say, hey, I think Ohio State has the better team? Or did he look and say that what Alabama had was better than him, so he wanted to go out? We don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'd like to lean more towards maybe he looked and said, I think I have a better shot up there because I do not like when quarterbacks run from competition.
Yeah.
But who knows?
I think a lot of that did with Saban retiring, and he went there specifically to be coached by Saban.
Could very well be.
And felt that he, liked a chance somewhere else.
Maybe like Ryan Day better than coach
Kalen DeBoer.
Yeah, and he's a good coach too. I'm not trying to throw shade.
Oh,
on
he's a very good coach,
coach.
and right now he's tearing it up in the recruiting. I mean, they just landed 3 5-stars for this 26th season. So I mean, he's kind of getting Alabama back. But let's go back into the gameplay here. The running backs position. Ohio State lost both their superstars, so they're going to be young there as 2 new guys are trying. Alabama is another team that their running backs, I think their stable's a little bit better with Miller, Young, and Washington. I think they're going to be a little better than Peoples and C.J. Donaldson for Ohio State. But let's move into the receiver position here. We know that there's a clear advantage for Ohio State, even though Alabama's got Ryan Williams, who is a stud in himself.
Yeah.
But just the depth that they have at the receiver position is just unmatched with anybody else out there. It's that will be fun to see, just the receivers going against each other. Offensive line, Ohio State, I'm high on, even though they lost 2 guys to the NFL.
Yeah.
Some of the other guys got experience there. They got a couple transfers coming in that are looking like they're going to get some starting time.
Yeah.
Alabama's defense, we always know Alabama builds at the trenches.
Yeah.
They love their D line and they love their offensive line. That's why they've always been so solid. They love the interior.
They're solid. Their defense is solid.
Yeah, you graded them pretty high.
I got them as a 56, but when you break them down into the groups, they're all starter level players, and their overall grade indicates that. But, Ohio State's defense is a little bit better, and a lot of it's because of that, guy that transferred from Alabama.
Caleb Downs, another guy from Alabama,
And like I say, here's another circumstance where I just think, just like with Texas, I think Ohio State's just a little bit better than Alabama. Doesn't mean it couldn't go the other way, but I would pick Ohio State if I had to pick a game.
Yeah, I agree. I will go with Ohio State in this game, and like you said, call us homers. In this heavyweight battle here, I got Ohio State a slight advantage with the quarterback and receiver position. Defense, we feel, are pretty comparable. I know Alabama's got a little more experience and depth, and then the interior D-line and offensive line, but I'm still going to go with the playmaking ability on Ohio State's sideline. And like you said, we talked earlier, we put a favorite on this game as Ohio State, and we had it at a line at Ohio State's giving Alabama 3 points.
Yeah.
So I think we both feel that I would take Alabama or Ohio State in this game.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's another. I mean, what a great game there.
Oh yeah.
So.
Oh yeah.
Yep. All right, let's move on to our third matchup here that we have wrote down. And this, like I said, again, this is based on rankings coming into the season. Would be the third ranked team in the Big 10. We got Oregon. So, Oregon, and this is debatable. I know you're not high on them.
Nope.
Others are. But I'm going to go with Georgia. You look around, and they're hard to, say that they're not very good. It's Georgia. They're always a powerhouse coming into the season.
When I say I'm not high on them, it doesn't mean I think they hoop. I don't think they're in the top 5 in the SEC because their experience level is down. Now, Oregon's offense is a 62.5.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Their defense is a 58.5. Pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
This is an experience level now.
Yeah, this is playing time and yes.
Accolades, starting time, and some stats. I don't really go too much by the stats unless, there's a guy that's a 4.5, but he has starter stats. Mm-hmm. But anyway, Georgia was a 55 on offense and a 54.5 on defense. What that tells you is they lost a lot of players. They got a lot of newer players, guys that were good pieces last year, but not necessarily starters. They'll grow into the season, I'm sure. As you can see by this matchup, it favors Oregon. Mm-hmm. And I would favor Oregon. Mm-hmm. I think Oregon's a better team. Not in here again. That game can go any way. We know that.
Oh, yeah.
So not to, I actually had a little different matchup. But I favor Oregon over Georgia because I think Georgia just was heading the wrong way last year at the end of the year. And what I see on paper is they're starting out the wrong way. Mm-hmm. But it is Georgia.
So here's another game where both quarterbacks on these teams are starters or new guys coming in. Right. Gunnar Stockton starting the season for Georgia. We're pretty sure of that. And then Oregon is going to be Dante Moore because Dylan Gabriel moved on to the NFL. So that's kind of, both of them lack experience. So that's kind of in this game is an interesting matchup because you don't know how they're going to start and how they're going to play in this game because both defenses are super good. Yeah. And they may, kind of slow down this quarterback play here. So
it will help Georgia's defense, which is newer players as well, having a guy across. But I think both these quarterbacks are well liked by their coaches.
Oh, staff. They're both good quarterbacks.
Yeah, and so before it sounds like we're trying to down them, they just haven't the experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the playing time. They're new starters.
Yeah.
So let's go with the running back position where Oregon has Micah Hughes, who's pretty good, and Noah Whittington is another good running back. Georgia has Nate Frazier and Josh McCray. He's a transfer from, I want to say, Illinois.
Yes, he is.
And so I favor Georgia's running game just slightly a little bit better than Oregon's. But that's, a 50-50 toss-up. They're both capable
I got it the other
teams.
way around, but here again, that's because of accolades. I believe one of the running backs from Oregon has some accolades in a smaller conference.
Oh, yeah.
So, but anyway, here again, to your point, I've got Georgia's running back. Am I on the right page?
Frazier.
Yeah, I got him as a starter level.
And McCray was a good starter for Illinois. Was a 1,000-yard rusher. Yeah, so they loaded up a little bit.
Yeah, they got a little bit better on there too. So
yeah,
but I mean, hey.
And then the receivers, I think that favors Georgia a little bit. So without getting in all the names there, I'm going to go with Georgia favorite there. Offensive lines here. How do you have them scored?
For some reason I don't have Georgia's down, but I believe they had a lot of newer guys on their offensive line with the paperwork I had. Oregon's offensive line is pretty veteran, so I go with Oregon.
Yeah. They have a transfer Oregon coming in, Isaiah World, who's going to be pretty dang good.
Yeah.
They actually have two guys that probably will end up starting on Oregon's offensive line, but that's depth because those guys were starters from when they transferred in.
Yeah.
Georgia's got a good team on the offensive line. Now, defense is where I think Georgia's definitely favored in this game.
Because Oregon's got a 58.5 and Georgia's got a 54.5. Georgia might have some guys in key positions.
Yes.
So, but Georgia's what I seen, and here again, we kind of use different sites. So, what I've seen with Georgia is they're a little bit down. I favor Oregon just about everywhere. And here again, though, I'm going to preface that by saying another matchup would go either way. Because Georgia, they just reload. You know, I'm not going to sit here and act like they're garbage. I'm just not sold on them.
Yeah.
Just like you're not sold on my South Carolina and Florida.
Right. So now let's get into it. We talked about this game. Who's favored in this game? Oregon versus Georgia. We would, with Oregon is going to be the favorite in this game. And we had a bigger spread in this.
Yeah.
We had a 7-point spread.
Yeah.
So we had Oregon -7 going against Georgia because of the lack of experience on the offensive side as far as the QB position. And we felt that Oregon was a little bit overall better team.
I just think Oregon overall is better. Georgia's going to grow into the season. And let's be honest. Losing by a touchdown ain't getting blown out.
No, that's still a close matchup.
It sounds bad because of spotting. Mm-hmm. Losing by a touchdown isn't getting your doors blown off.
No.
So, you know, we're not disrespecting.
That's
Georgia
one play
as much
either
as it
way.
sounds.
Yeah, Kirby Smart will have this team ready to go no matter
absolutely.
what. He's one of the best coaches in college football. He definitely can. If anybody can get the team going and rebuild the team, that's him. He can definitely get him going.
Didn't we see footage of him saying they're a piece?
They have a lot of work to go.
Yeah, they got work to do.
Yeah, he's definitely riding that team. But yeah, I mean, it comes down to the Gunnar Stockton and Dante Moore here. I think is the splitting hairs on this game here. Really, who's going to have the better performance? So all right, let's move on to the fourth matchup here. We got the Fighting Illini. We were kind of high on this team coming in because they're very high returning veteran team here. And their matchup is going to be against LSU.
Yeah.
Now, LSU is a team that everybody's high on. Yeah. This is a highly good team coming in. Thing to me is, can Brian Kelly start winning some big games here? He's kind of a guy that's, hasn't got over that hump, not winning big games. He's always got that super ultra talented teams, but now can he start equating some wins to this here?
I don't know. One of our colleagues, Brian Kelly, was the coach of his favorite college team, and he's not very high on the man at all. So, this is a matchup that I'm very high on Illinois. Mm-hmm. When we look at Illinois, in my work, they graded a 62 on offense and a 62 on defense.
Yeah.
Solid veteran team. Mm-hmm. When we look at LSU, they have a 55 on offense, but we know their quarterback is very good.
Superstar.
Okay. Mm-hmm. They had a 61 on defense, so the defense is spectacular.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go by overall grade alone on this. I'm going to shock you with this. I probably would favor LSU. Simply because LSU has been involved in more meaningful games over the last few years.
Sure.
Illinois is new to this
new blood
game. Yeah, they're new blood, not blue blood.
Yeah.
And although I'm high on Illinois, and I think Illinois is capable of beating anybody. I'm going to state that. I got them as a dark horse. Right? I have to favor LSU in this one. Because the national people have them ranked high. I wasn't sold on them the first time I went through it. The second time, they looked a little bit stronger. I think I'd have to go with LSU in this matchup.
Yeah.
But here again.
Yeah. We both know these quarterbacks here are returning starters and very highly respected, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Garrett Nessmeyer is going to be a top 10 NFL draft guy, And Luke Altemeyer is another guy who's going to be drafted. I don't know how high he's going to be.
He's going to make somebody a damn good quarterback.
But he's a mighty fine, good quarterback in himself.
Yeah.
The pendulum swings to the LSU side here with Ness Meyer as being an excellent QB here. The running backs position, Illinois has got a decent running back core. Aiden Lafferty and Caden Fegan. But LSU's got Caden Durham, Caleb Jackson, pretty good running backs. They're about equal. I agree with you there. Now, the receiving core, to me, I have a big swing to LSU. LSU's got some they always have good LSU receivers at LSU. They're like a wide receiver there.
Yeah.
They have some really good ones in the NFL. With Nick Anderson on the LSU and Barron Brown and Aaron Anderson, they got a really good dang receiver. I'm favoring LSU in that. Offensive line,
it's not close.
It's not close. Illinois, what they got? 5 or 4 returning starters on that offensive line. So they have some depth.
I think they're the best offensive line collectively with the hardware of any line in the country. So LSU's line isn't dirt.
Yes.
They're a decent offensive line.
Yes.
But they're not Illinois.
Yeah, they're definitely not there. You know, All-American on C.J. Davis for Illinois' All-American. And so we talked about Illinois' offensive line might be the reason why they're so good.
Yes.
Because they got a very good offensive line.
That's where the one major difference between these two teams is.
Yeah.
In my opinion, is the offensive line.
Defensive side, it's a pretty evenly good matchup here, I think. I think Illinois has got a lot of returning players, veteran-esque on that side. LSU is the same. It's going to be an exciting game to watch on the defensive side.
Yeah.
There. So
it's almost a dead even run with what I got when I broke the things down. I mean, you got the defensive line for Illinois is a 21.5. I got it as a 20.5 for LSU. LSU's got a 10.5 between their 2 linebackers. Illinois has an 11.5 between their 2 linebackers. And the DBs, is 5 of them, 29 for both. Mm-hmm. So you're... You know, and I think Illinois' offense is just slightly better, but it's strength on strength.
Yeah.
So, and I do think LSU's played more meaningful football later in the year than Illinois over the last 4 or 5 years, which I think can translate.
He plays in this game here is we talked about the defense. Illinois is returning the whole entire backfield. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be the matchup against LSU's outstanding receivers. Yeah. That's a big thing there to keep an eye on in that game. And so let's get into the spots in the favorite in this game here. We both talked about this. We looked at LSU as the favorite in this game, and we got them at a 4.5 spot.
Yeah.
So how do you feel? Who are you taking in this game here?
I as much as I want to go Illinois, because you know I'm high on them, I got to take LSU. I just think they're the better team right now. But I think either one of them. I don't actually have LSU in the playoffs, and I do have Illinois in the playoffs.
Right.
But here again, that's how close all this is.
Yeah.
You know, but I think head to head, because LSU's played more meaningful football, it seems like Illinois will struggle outside of the Big 10 at times.
Yeah.
But I got to go LSU. I'm not going to debate it any longer. I just think LSU would have to. I think they're the better team right now.
Right. I'm going to go with LSU as well. We talked about their schedule. They got a brutal schedule. Yeah. For them to get through that, they're going to be battle tested against, them playing against Illinois. Not that Illinois won't be battle tested, but I think they'll be ready for this game. They got a lot more blue chippers on LSU. I think LSU is going to win this game. I'm going to get Brian Kelly to get over the hump in this game here.
But I mean, if he didn't beat Illinois, there'd be people coming after him to hang him.
Yeah. Yep. All right, well, let's move on to our last matchup. This one's going to be kind of fun putting these guys back up on the board because They didn't have a great season last year, but let's put Michigan up on the board for the Big 10.
Yep.
We got them as the 5th seeded team in the Big 10, and they're going against Oklahoma. Oklahoma's another blue blood school.
Yeah.
They didn't have a great year last year, but I think that's going to turn around, and they're going to be a little bit better this year.
A lot of people think Oklahoma's going to come back this year, and we do too.
Yeah.
And we all know Michigan, they took a step back last year, but they had a lot going on last year preseason as well. And we do think Michigan is a far better team this year than they were last year. And they could easily get in there and be higher in the Big Ten than what we have right now, because we know their schedule isn't very tough.
No.
Oklahoma is on their schedule, so we're actually going to see this game play out.
Yeah, this is going to be a game played in the season.
So we'll see how smart we are here.
Right.
But, basically when you look at Michigan, their offense is a 55.5, and their defense is a 60.5. So with Michigan, you're getting defense. Mm-hmm. And their offense, like I say, grade starters across the board, so that's better than what they had last year. Oklahoma. Oklahoma's offense is a 58.5, and their defense is a 58.5. So this is a very solid team in and of its own self. Very hard game to pick, as were all of them. None of them were easy.
No.
But as you can see with that, you're right bumping up against one another there. When we turn over and we kind of look, the quarterback, I gave Michigan the grade I would have given Mikey Keene, because Mikey Keene was a 3-year starter at Fresno and was decorated in the Mountain West, even though the freshman's going to start. So if you're starting over a guy that's a 7, I have to give you a 7. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Oklahoma's quarterback is a 5. So he's a starter level.
John Mateer.
Mateer. Mm-hmm. And he was one of the best ones in the transfer portal, if I'm correct on that. Coming from Washington State.
Yeah.
Running backs. Michigan doesn't have a stellar running back. I've got them at a 4.5. I've got Oklahoma because I believe they got that Jaden Ott from California or somewhere out there in the ACC, running back, solid player. So Oklahoma's running game is far stronger than Michigan's. Wide receivers, I got them dead even. Tight ends, dead even though they don't really play each other. Defensive line group, Michigan's a 20.5. Oklahoma's a 22.5. So, those both good grades. Linebackers, 13 for Michigan. So we know you only got 2 guys. So you're talking, 6.5 average between both of them. Linebackers for Oklahoma is a 10.5. And as I stated, for those of you who don't follow, a 5 is a starting grade. Mm-hmm. 1-year starter's a 5. Mm-hmm. Defensive backs, Michigan's 27. Pretty solid. Oklahoma's 25.5. So these teams, like I say, you're kind of splitting hairs with them. Can Michigan get a little extra out of that running back? Can he be more of a 5? Will Oklahoma, Michigan, can they stop that running back? Does Underwood, I think is the quarterback.
Bryce Underwood.
Does he play to the level everybody thinks he's going to play, since he looks like the starter? Boy, what a game. I'm probably going to get tarred and feathered by our Buckeye fans, but I'm going Michigan.
Right. So.
I just think they've been more meaningful here. Oklahoma struggled mightily last year. I do think they're getting better, but Michigan's been strong for the last 4 years, even though their season last year stunk. They ended the year very well by beating the Buckeyes and the Crimson Tide. Mm-hmm. 2 pretty good wins to have. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's where is Michigan going to be? It's a lot of hype for this team coming into this year. They got a lot of, they transfer portal and recruits coming in. They got the number 1 recruit in the 2025 class at Bryce Underwood. Is he going to start? They got Mikey Keene there, and then, like you said, they got Davis that played last year a few games. We don't know where Michigan's going to be at that quarterback position, but we do know that Oklahoma's quarterback position is John Mateers.
Yeah.
Who's going to start.
Yeah.
Edge, Oklahoma. Now, Michigan has Justice Haynes, who transferred from Georgia to Michigan.
He's solid.
But they also had Jordan Marshall, who played last year and who ran over Alabama in the bowl game. So they got another good running backs. As far as that goes, Oklahoma, I'm not sure if who's favored in the running back position.
It'll be odd.
It'll be close. It'll be close.
Thank God.
Yeah,
No
from
question.
Oklahoma. And then we're going with the wide receiver position. Now, this is one spot where Michigan lacked. They were, 129th last year offensively.
Oh.
So we know their receivers are very bad.
Yeah.
And they did hit some recruiting kids coming in and some transfer kids coming in. So we know that Michigan knows that they got to beef up this receiving core so they can move the ball, because they were terrible last year offensively.
Yeah. Well, the quarterback here again, not to down Davis Warren, because I think I don't think he had a whole lot of experience, but the quarterback room was a lot of the problem for that too. Mm-hmm. And I think Michigan's going to be better in the wide receiving room. So is Oklahoma. We'll just wait and see. I think Michigan's going to be a much better offensive team this year. They're going to score more than 10 points a game. Mm-hmm. They were kind of last year's Iowa. In the Big 10.
Yeah. Yep. Now on the defensive side, I think Michigan on a defense collectively overall is a top 10, top 10. Yeah. Might even be a top 5 team in college football. They're really good. So I got a big favorite for Michigan in this game as far as the defensive side.
The defensive line goes to Oklahoma slightly, but the linebackers and defensive backfields Michigan all the way. I think Michigan's just a hair better, but boy, Oklahoma will be on their butt, and we're going to see it.
Yeah,
that's the beauty of this game. We're going to see it, and it's nice, like you said at the beginning. It's nice to see these two blue bloods back in the mix, because college football is better with these teams involved.
Yeah,
I mean, we don't like Michigan beating us, but I don't hate Michigan, and they need to be relevant.
Right,
that helps the Big 10 out.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so all right, we have a favorite. We picked Michigan as a favorite coming into this game by 2 points. So that is a really close matchup.
Yes, it is.
You like Michigan, obviously.
I like Michigan.
You like Michigan in this
I like
game?
Michigan.
I like Michigan on potential. I want to pick them on potential. If Bryce Underwood lives up to the billing that he is, I'm going to go with Michigan, and he's going to be hard to contain, man. This guy's a special player here.
Oh, yeah.
And so I like Michigan.
Like I say, by a slim margin. In all these games, and I know there's going to be a lot of people, well, you guys all want the Big 10. Well, we're Big 10 country. I'm sure all of you, if you're upset with it, it's because you think your team, your SEC, is going to win. Mm-hmm. So maybe somewhere in the middle. These games could go either way. We know it.
Yeah.
Question is, do you all know it? But we just told you it.
Yeah.
And
so out of 5 games, I went with Texas. I went with Texas and LSU. Now the Alabama game, we went with Ohio State, and you went with Oregon in that game, and we went with Michigan. So this is going to show and prove our point that I think the Big Ten's there. I think the Big Ten's there, and I think they might even surpass the SEC now,
I think
moving forward.
At the
top is heavy. Sure.
I think, like I said, if you put all 34 teams in a league, I think, and I'm trying to make this make sense. If they had to play the other 33 teams, I think the SEC teams would be stronger record-wise. If you follow what I'm saying, depth-wise, because I just think they can play more versatile games. Where in the Big 10, you have teams like Iowa and Wisconsin that don't play speed well.
Yeah.
But they do play power teams well.
Yeah.
So, but your top level teams, your Penn State, your Ohio State, or especially in Oregon. Oregon plays SEC football type, speed.
Yeah.
And they've gotten a little beefier.
Yeah.
And Michigan being back, Michigan, when they're at their best, they can play with anybody.
Yeah.
Illinois, I think, is one of those teams, although they don't have the experience, I think they're kind of just, they don't realize what they don't know. So I don't think it hurts them as bad, but I do want to see them get a little more experience with the big games.
Well,
at its level.
Yeah. That's going to wrap it up. We had fun. All I know is what this means is we're 6 weeks out from the college football season to begin, and we're excited about that. We are just looking around.
Wait.
That's going to be a great season. We're going to come to you with some more good stuff here.
And this year we're going to have the whole year instead of starting like I think it was week 5 last year.
We're going to start from the kick. Yeah, we'll be there for the kickoff, and we'll be talking about all those games. We're going to have a lot of fun. Like and comment on this here. Let us know who you'd have matchups, who would win these games, who you have favored in this game, Big 10, SEC, who's better. Let us know, because I'm telling you, I think it's closer than what everybody thinks.
It is closer. And I don't care who you are, you can hate the other conference, right? But you got to understand they're a breath apart.
Yeah,
they're right there so with one another. And even though I kind of favor the Big 10 a lot, I know the SEC teams, any one of them can beat. So when you make your comments, if you want to disagree, give us reasons why. Drop knowledge, not just comments.
Yeah. Hey,
comment with some knowledge.
Tell us what you feel.
We can get something out of it.
Yeah.
Makes the show better.
Yeah, let us know. That was fun. That'll do it. See you next week.
Peace.